obviously got big game coming up. Not just the fact it's Auburn, which every game against Auburn's a big game, but we're trying to get ourselves right in the second half of conference play. Didn't have the start to conference play like we wanted in the first half. I think we've learned a lot. Some of the lessons I would have loved to have learned in non-conference, which is the point of playing the tough non-conference schedule we play. But sometimes it takes more than a few losses to learn some of the lessons we need to learn. So here we are halfway through conference play, got half it left, starting on the road at our rival, and Steven's done a pretty good job. I think, you look at some of the wins he's gotten since and it seems like he's kind of got his rotation down, and they're playing their best basketball of the year. I think he's got 5 wins over Final Four coaches, so he's done a good job. They've got good talent. Hall's playing very well right now. I think he's the only player in the SEC top 10 in scoring and rebounding both. So talented guy. We've got to make sure we do a good job on him. And they've had some wins. They went to Florida and looked a lot better than we looked. They got the win down there. They've played well, and winning at Auburn's not an easy place to win. We haven't done it much. Obviously, we're coming off the win there last year, but a lot different team on both sides, us and them both. So we've got to come right. And what we haven't been able to do is string together enough good wins. It's like we'll have played pretty well. Go up, beat Illinois, beat St. John's, whoever, but then, we haven't strung together, to me, a long enough good streak, and we got to start doing that, and it's got to start with this one, because I thought we were great against Missouri and disastrous against Florida, much better against A&M, and now can we maintain a level of play that meets the standard we've set around here, so that we'll see tomorrow.
Yeah, during Charles' hearing today with the court, it seemed like the educational opportunity part of it was a big part of why he was wanting to come back. If he doesn't get an injunction and can't keep playing, will y'all keep him on scholarship somehow? Or
yeah, 100%. I mean, Charles is our guy. It's been our point since the beginning. This isn't some random 23-year-old played professionally in Europe for 4 years that nobody knew that we're bringing over as a mercenary halfway through the season like some other places have done. That's not what we got going. Charles is our guy. Charles went to school here for 4 years. I've got a relationship with Charles. That's why the whole thing made sense. He's within his 5-year window. He's trying to get his degree. Yeah, if Charles is unable to keep playing, I don't know what happened. I just got out of practice, so I'm not sure what happened there in the hearing and whatever. But, yeah, Charles is in school. He's going to remain in school. He wants to get his degree.
Coach, what's the biggest difference that you've noticed in this year under Stephen Pearl than last year with Auburn?
It's a great question because obviously it kept it in the family. I mean, he's, guys that have coached under me that have left, a lot of them try to play the way we played. It was successful. He took over for his father. His father was extremely successful, most successful coach in the history of Auburn basketball. Why change a whole lot? There's, my assistants that have left, you look at them, I talked to Coach Hodgson the other day. He obviously tweaks stuff because they got different personnel, but they're running the same system. Petway's done a really good job at Kennesaw. For the most part, they run the same system. It's pretty successful when they were here with us, and they do the same. So they haven't changed much on the schematic way that they play basketball, if you will. I think the changes are more how he's using the personnel he's got. And shoot, Bruce changed that every year, to be honest with you. I mean, Bruce never coached the exact same one year to the next. He did a really good job understanding who his best players were, what their strengths were. He went to the Final Four with a very guard-based team before I started coaching here, and then he came in and last year he had Janai Broom, and he paced it more around Broom. So I think Steven's done a good job kind of tightening the rotation up, understanding who his best players are. It seems like Keshan Hall gets a lot of touches, a lot of looks, and he should be with how talented he is. So, they run similar stuff, but a little bit different points of emphasis, and I think they've done a pretty good job understanding what their strengths are and playing to their strengths this year. But schematic-wise, it's very similar to what they had going before.
The kind of increased levels of focus and intensity that you said you saw after the Florida game, do you think that's been sustained throughout this week going into this game?
I think so. It's hard to see exactly what I'd like to see in practice with the amount of injuries we've had. It's been, I think, Clark's been doing this a long time, one of the best trainers in the business. It's had the most random, odd, unlucky amount of injuries I've ever had coaching and he's ever had as a trainer. So to Taylor practice today, I thought he was moving pretty well. LeBaron's still trying to recover from that thigh bruise he had at the end of the first half last game, so he wasn't able to practice today. It's like we never have a full roster to practice with, so I do think the intent and the intensity in practice was there. Just sometimes the guys that you need to get reps to get where we're at aren't available to practice. It just seems to have been that way all year with this group.
Yeah, Greg Sankey signed an affidavit in support of the NCAA just against Chuck. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I was made aware of that last night. We're really disappointed with all the eligibility issues and the inconsistencies in the entire system. And obviously, I'm really disappointed that Charles is the one that seems to be where all the focus is, because there's plenty of others that have been made eligible, whether by NCAA ruling themselves that are not eligible by what the rules state, or by a court injunction, and for whatever reason, Charles seems to be the only focus anywhere right now, and I'm really disappointed that that's happened, and I'm not sure why, but it's not really my spot to make any comments on any of the court proceedings. So I'm not an attorney, and we're going to let them handle all that.
From a preparation standpoint for Auburn, have you taken the approach that it's better to just presume the worst case scenario, Charles can't go, maybe you give Noah Williamson a few extra practice reps that he would need if he's got to play more minutes, or do you play it like Charles is good to go?
We're playing like Charles is good to go. I think the right thing will be done here. We played it like Charles will play.
You mentioned Taylor practice today. Do you expect him to be able to go tomorrow?
I expect Taylor to play tomorrow, yes.
What's your relationship, interactions with Stephen Pearl been like over the years, and how do you say he's different than Bruce?
When I first got to know him, he was an assistant under his dad, and I got here, and I've kind of seen him out on the road as an assistant. Now, before we played the, was it the basketball in Boutwell or balling in Boutwell, I think they call it this year. We did a little panel together. I thought he's been pretty insightful, to be honest with you. I think I've enjoyed some of his comments on the current state of basketball, and I think he's pretty well-spoken, well thought out. He's grown up in the business, obviously with his dad coaching pretty much Stephen's entire life, and then him playing in the SEC at Tennessee. I think he's got good background on it. He's younger than his dad. He's got some different viewpoints, probably a little more laid back. Seems like he's maybe a little less into politics at this stage of his life, I'd say, at least from what I know of him. But I've enjoyed talking to him out on the road and meeting with him here and there. I think he's doing a really good job this year. It's not easy. Listen, whether it was your dad or anybody, it's not easy coming in and taking over for the best coach in the history of a school in any sport. I mean, think about some of the guys that taking over for the best. Not easy coming in, taking over for Bob Knight. Not easy coming in, taking over for Dean Smith, Roy Williams. Like, I mean, these guys are not easy. Bruce Pearl is the equivalent of that to Auburn. It's been by far their best coach in the history of their program. So whether it was his son or not, it was not easy coming in. And I think he's done pretty well in the circumstances.
And I just wanted to ask you about Keshan Hall, one of the best scorers in the SEC, maybe the country. Your impressions from watching him on film and how you intend to try to slow him down.
Listen, he can score at a high level. Everywhere he's been, I think this is his fourth school. Everywhere he's been a high-level scorer. So, he gets to the rim. He gets fouled a lot. Auburn themselves is number 2 in the country, and I believe free throws per game, foul rate. So like he's part of that, big part of that. Draws a lot of fouls. He can score in the post. He can score in the perimeter, shooting threes. He can drive the ball. And they get him in all those areas. They do a good job mixing it up. Depending on who's guarding him, whether they're going to post him, drive him, space him, ISO him, play him off pick and roll. He can handle it. He can set it. So very versatile player. They play him like a guard, so sometimes you'd think, maybe you guard him like a guard. The issue is he's so big, then all of a sudden they throw him in a post, you play him like a big. It's probably not a great idea either because they play out on the perimeter. So we're got to be ready to change matchup, see who we think's doing the best job, help where appropriate, be ready to help on the drives. Like we got to, this is not a game where you can come in with one game plan against them, because if that one game plan doesn't work, and very likely you're going to have to go to options B and C with him. So we're going to have different guys available to guard him, different options available, and see if we can find something that works.
Hey, Coach, how do you keep all this stuff with Charles from becoming a distraction and just get the team to focus on winning?
Yeah, so we talked to him before we ever brought Charles in. I informed him of what's going on. And like I said at the very beginning, it was real easy, because this is not like some random 23-year-old professional in Europe that nobody knows. He's one of us. So the first time I told the group, I told them, if any of you were in the same situation and this is the last college that you played for and it made sense to bring you back, we'd do it for every last one of you in this room. Once you're one of us, you're one of us. It's a high school coach, same deal. So I've had my high school players come down and watch our games here at Alabama. It's great. Charles will eventually move on, hopefully have his degree. He'll come back here often. So I've since then just kept our group in the loop on everything. And there's no reason to talk about the court proceedings until there's reason to talk about them. So this morning I told him, Charles, because he missed film, we'll get film with him later because he had to be at court. So I said, Charles, in here, he's in court. Here's what could happen. Here's what they've said will happen. And then the last thing I said is, guys, it has zero to do with our preparation for this game. Everybody in here has got to do what they need to do. And then we'll adjust if needed to adjust based on that. Listen, there's been plenty of distractions around here on a million different levels. You kind of choose what you focus on and what you choose to allow to be a distraction. We've tried to eliminate all of them as much as possible. If we choose to make it a distraction, it's a distraction. If we choose to focus on what we have to focus, when you're in film, you focus on film. When you're in practice, you focus on practice. When you're in the game, you focus on the game. If we're not disciplined enough to focus where our feet are at in every setting we're at, then we don't deserve to be playing good basketball. And to be honest with you, before Charles ever came about, we haven't always been able to focus on what we need to focus on this year. And it's a problem with every young student athlete at some point. I take social media off my phone during the year. Like, there's no point in looking at what everybody's got to say. It has nothing to do with how I need to coach my team. I think they just need to focus on what they focus on, focus where their feet are at. And I think sometimes you get like laser focus when there's a potential for a lot of distractions. Sometimes that makes you really focus in. I hope that's what's happening with our group right now.